The rain had stopped. A small town was quiet. A farmer found a bag in a field. Inside was a shoe. Close up, mud on the shoe. The mud was not from the town. Tiny bits of seeds and dust in the mud. This small clue was about to tell a story. It would reveal where the shoe had been. A journey written in the language of the earth. The shoe held a secret, a silent testimony. Police were puzzled, but the earth held the key. No loud confessions, no dramatic chases. Instead, the invisible world would do the work. The mud was more than dirt. It was a complex mixture. Minerals, organic matter, microscopic life, and inside were smaller passengers, grains of pollen. To understand how this works, we must first look at these materials themselves. Soil is the living skin of our planet. It is not just inert dirt, it is a dynamic and complex ecosystem. It is composed of minerals, sand, silt, clay, which come from the slow breakdown of rocks over millions of years. But it also contains the rich remains of life, decaying plants, tiny insects, countless microorganisms. Every handful of soil is a bustling community of living and non-living things, a composition that changes dramatically from one place to another. Pollen is even more subtle. It is a fine, often yellowish powder produced by plants. These microscopic grains are the male reproductive cells of flowering plants, conifers. Their purpose is to travel, carried by wind, water, insects, to fertilize other plants of the same species. Because they are designed to be transported, they are incredibly durable and can survive for thousands, even millions of years in the right conditions. Each plant species produces pollen with a unique size, shape, surface texture, a distinctive design identifiable under a microscope. The true power of soil and pollen as evidence lies in their incredible diversity. The soil on a coastal path will be sandy and salty. Inland forest soil is dark, rich with leaf litter, acidic from pine needles. The pollen profile changes too. Meadow grasses, wildflowers, or ornamental trees unique to a city park. This concept is known as the principle of Locard's exchange, a fundamental idea in forensics. It states that every contact leaves a trace. When a person walks through a field, they carry away soil, pollen on their shoes and clothing. Conversely, they leave behind traces from wherever they were before. Forensic experts use this principle to create a map of a person's movements. The collection of these microscopic clues is a delicate and precise science. It must be done with meticulous care to avoid contamination. They wear full protective suits, gloves, shoe covers. This is not just to protect themselves. It's to prevent introducing new soils or pollens from their own clothing. The tools of the trade are simple, but impeccably clean. Small trowels, spatulas, brushes. For pollen, it's much lighter and lands on clothing or car seats. They use specialized adhesive tapes to lift tiny particles. A vacuum with a special filter can gently lift pollen from carpet or jacket. Each sample goes into a sterile, sealed container. A plastic bag, a glass vial, a metal tin. Then it's immediately labeled with location, date, time. The process is systematic. Investigators don't take one sample. They take many. From a footprint, from nearby patches, from areas further away. Those are control samples. In the lab, they compare evidence to control samples, from the scene and from other locations, from a suspect's home, from a car. That builds a much more reliable picture. Chain of custody. A detailed log of who handled the evidence and when is vital from field to courtroom. The value of evidence depends entirely on its purity. A single stray fiber or grain of pollen from elsewhere could confuse analysis. The collector's craft is patience and precision. They are the gatekeepers of this silent evidence. Once the samples arrive at the laboratory, their hidden story begins to unfold. The first step for a soil sample is a visual examination. A forensic geologist will note its color. Color can indicate certain minerals. They'll check texture. Is it sandy, silty, or clay? Next, they dry the sample and pass it through sieves to sort particle sizes. Basic characterization done, but the real investigation is microscopic. Under a high-powered microscope, detail emerges. The scientist identifies minerals, quartz, feldspar, mica. They spot tiny man-made bits, brick fragments, glass shards, paint chips. They search for biological clues, plant matter, insect parts, diatoms, tiny fossils. Each component adds a layer to the soil's profile, another piece of the puzzle to pinpoint origin. Pollen analysis, palynology, needs a different approach. Pollen is chemically extracted from soil, clothing, tape lifts. Isolated grains are mounted on slides and examined under a microscope. The plant world's diversity becomes clear. A palynologist can ID species by pollen shape. They count types of pollen, creating a pollen fingerprint. With the analysis complete, the scientist has created a detailed profile for each sample. This profile is a comprehensive list: soil's color, mineral composition, man-made debris, types and proportions of pollen grains. This is the unique signature of the location where the sample was collected. The next critical step is comparison. The profile from the evidence, the mud on the shoe, is compared against control profiles. Crime scene, suspect's garden, alibi location. Side-by-side evaluation. Do the colors match? Are the same rare minerals present? Does the pollen fingerprint align? If the mud on a suspect's boot contains the same soil minerals and the same unique combination of pollen, oak pollen, ragweed pollen, rare orchid pollen, the connection becomes incredibly strong. It is the combination of all these different data points that creates a compelling and scientifically valid match. This is more than a simple visual match. Forensic scientists use databases and statistical analysis to determine the probability that two samples came from the same source. A database might contain thousands of soil and pollen profiles, allowing an expert to say not only that two samples match, but also how rare that particular profile is. If the soil profile is common to an entire county, the match is less significant. But if it matches a unique 1-acre park, the evidence becomes extremely powerful. Real-life cases have turned on this very evidence. In one investigation, a kidnapper's car was linked to the victim's location by a unique mix of pollen on the car's air filter. In another, the soil on a murder weapon was matched to a disturbed patch of ground where a body was later found, disproving the suspect's claims that the tool had never left his garage. These cases demonstrate that the earth leaves its mark. The science of forensic geology and palynology provides the tools to read that mark, connecting a person to a place with a level of certainty that is difficult to refute, demonstrating the incredible power of the world beneath our feet. So, why does this painstaking work matter? It matters because soil and pollen are silent. They cannot be intimidated. They do not forget. They are impartial witnesses that hold a physical record of where things have been. In a world where human memory can be flawed and motives can be questioned, this physical evidence provides an objective truth. A tiny grain of pollen or a smear of mud can corroborate a witness's statement or completely dismantle a carefully constructed alibi. They provide a voice for victims who can no longer speak for themselves. This science bridges the gap between the natural world and the world of human justice. It takes principles that botanists and geologists have used for centuries to understand past climates and ecosystems, and applies them to the most pressing of human dramas. The ability to look at a suspect's clothing and trace their movements through a landscape is a profound power. It reveals that no matter how carefully a person tries to cover their tracks, they almost always carry away a part of the world they have moved through. The evidence is often microscopic, but its implications are immense. The story of the shoe found in the farmer's field had its conclusion. The unique profile of the mud, with its specific clay content and the pollen from a rare ornamental shrub, led investigators not to a vast forest or a common field, but to a small manicured garden behind a suburban house miles away. This was the scene of the crime. Ultimately, this work reminds us of our deep and inescapable connection to the world around us. We move through a constant shower of invisible particles, and the ground beneath our feet is a vast library of information. Soils and pollen are more than just dirt and dust. They are storytellers. They are the unseen evidence that, in the hands of a skilled investigator, can expose the truth and ensure that even the most silent of witnesses has its day in court. Nature itself becomes an ally in the search for truth. A journey written in the language of the earth. The shoe was a silent witness. The mud was its testimony. It could place the shoe in a forest, a marsh, a garden, a riverbank. The challenge? Decipher this code, translate it into a location on a map. The journey began in a laboratory, not in an interview room. Scientists gently scraped layers of mud, treating each speck with care. Every particle was a piece of the puzzle, demonstrating the incredible power of the world beneath our feet.